Good evening, everybody. Welcome in as we present the latest all-new summer edition of the Milford Informer. I am your host, Tim Coet. A quick programming note before we proceed with this week's show. We're going to hold off on airing the conclusion of our interview with the Office of Consumer Affairs until our next show. We wanted to take the opportunity to devote this entire episode to the Milford Boys of Summer Post 59. We have a comprehensive playoff update, as well as interviews with players and head coach Steve DiVitto to share with you this evening. So without further ado, let's get right to sports. Just 29 days after the regular season began, Milford's 24-game schedule came to an end on July 12th with a 15-5 Mercy Rule win at Cherry Valley. Post 59 concluded the regular season winning 4 out of their last 5, scoring 12 runs or more in 3 of those victories. In all, Milford finished the regular season with a record of 18-6, which locked them in as the number 3 seed in the 8-team playoff field. Zone 4 decided to once again shake up their playoff format for this season. Stage 1 of the playoffs split the 8-team playoff field into 2 separate brackets. Each bracket was played out in double elimination style. Milford was placed in bracket B along with number 2 seed Northbridge, number 6 seed Framingham, and number 7 seed Maine South. Milford would be paired with Framingham Post 74 to open the playoffs. Post 59 managed to sweep Framingham in the regular season, but they needed extra innings and some clutch hitting by Blake Hill to eke out a win in their second meeting. Let's see how the two teams fared in their third meeting of the year as we bring you full highlights of Game 1 of the Zone 4 playoffs. Milford had the opportunity to open the 2016 Zone playoffs at home as the number 3 seeded Post 59 welcomed in the number 6 seed Framingham Post 74. The game featured a premier pitching matchup, with Kevin Valentine taking the mound for Milford and Sam Phipps towing the rubber for Post 74. After both pitchers set the tone with 1-2-3 innings in the first, Framingham DH Jamie Brigham would be the first to get to Valentine, sending a pitch deep down the left field line that would go as a 1-out double. Valentine would fight his way out of the jam, however, striking out Jared Marafiote and George Tremblay back-to-back to end the inning. In the bottom of the second, Milford would collect an extra base hit of their own as Blake Hill would open the frame by sending a Sam Phipps pitch to the right center gap that would go as a leadoff double. With Hill at third and 2 outs, Brian Espinette would send the ball on the ground towards third, and it would sneak under the glove of George Tremblay, allowing Hill to come home, giving Milford an early 1-0 lead. It turned out to be a short-lived lead for Post 59. In the top of the third, Mike Gill would open the inning by floating one out to shallow right just beyond the reach of Blake Hill. Then it was number 9 hitter Jake Modica who would come through with Framingham's second double in as many innings against Valentine. This one would chase home Gill all the way from first, and immediately Framingham was able to respond, tying the game at 1. Post 74 would then sacrifice the go-ahead run to third base with just 1 out, but Valentine would regain his composure, striking out Zach Modica and Joe Mezco back-to-back, denying Framingham the chance to take the lead. From there, both pitchers would go into lockdown mode. Milford would have runners at first and second with 2 outs in the third, but Phipps would get Blake Hill swinging to end the threat. With 2 outs in the fourth, Framingham would produce a pair of base runners, but Kevin Valentine would get Mike Gill on his 5th strikeout of the game, keeping the score frozen at 1-1. The game would remain tied all the way until the 6th inning. With 2 on and 2 out, Phipps would allow his only walk of the game to Jeff Basazzi, loading the bases for Milford's number 9 man, Kyle Nocera. He's ready now with his 2-2 offering. This is sent on the ground towards second base. A diving play for Modica, but it gets underneath his glove as Monahan scores. Right behind him is Brian Espinette, and Milford will take a 3-1 lead. Framingham would make things interesting in the 7th, scoring 1 run on this 2-out base hit by Zach Modica, but Aiden Wild, who came in with 2 outs in the inning, would induce a ground ball off the bat of Joe Mezco that would result in a force play at second to end the game. Milford defeats Framingham by a final score of 3-2. After the game, Rob O'Keefe caught up with the heroes of the night, Kevin Valentine and Kyle Nocera.
Talk about your counterpart on Framingham. What were you thinking? Were you thinking they were ever going to slow down with that pitching or what?
I mean, we faced him last year and he shut us out, but I feel like this lineup this year really came together and is really taking some good at-bats, and we're just able to come in with some timely hitting by Nasser and able to get the win.
What kind of pitches were you throwing tonight? What was working for you?
A lot of fastballs and cutters. I mean, I would usually start off with fastball, then same eye level, drop the pitch. So yeah, then I throw fastball again, usually paint the corner and get a lot of strikeouts. Yeah.
And talk about the confidence in your pitching crew this year. I mean, you guys have a lot of pitchers on this team.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who has the ball, I have confidence that they'll get the job done, and as you saw tonight, that was the case.
Talk about that at-bat. That was huge.
Oh, it was 2 strikes. All I was thinking was put the ball in play, and that's exactly what I did. 2 strikes. I was just trying to drive it the other way. So, I got lucky. Got the pitch I wanted. Oh! Oh, that's freezing! Oh, God!
I think you're done. I think
Good
you're
one.
done.
Good one. Oh, there goes the glass. All right, that was great. Thanks, guys.
You want to throw at him?
Yeah, that was great. Great win. Great
All right,
win.
there we go.
Yeah.
I think we got it.
Post 59 was able to open up the playoffs with a victory, which ultimately earned them a trip to Northbridge Middle School for a Game 2 matchup with their rivals Post 343. Lately, the postseason matchups between the two teams have gone heavily in Northbridge's favor. Could Milford break that trend? Let's go back to the highlights. It was the 2 seed versus the 3 seed in Game 2 of the playoffs as Milford prepared to take on their chief rival Post 343. Northbridge finished up the regular season with a 20-4 record and earned their matchup with Milford thanks to a 6-0 win over Maine South the night before. Milford would miss Post 343 ace Tommy Sperino, but they would still face a difficult opponent on the pitcher's mound in right-hander Liam Cunningham. Cunningham would not allow a base runner through the first 2 innings, getting 4 of the 6 outs on weak contact on the infield. On the mound for Milford was Michael Farrell, who emerged as a dominant starter during the regular season. After pitching a 1-2-3 first, Farrell would allow a leadoff base hit to Mike Tironi in the second. Tironi wouldn't stay on the bases for long as the very next batter, Jack Marzek, would bounce into a routine 4-6-3 double play. Farrell then struck out Devin Baroth swinging to finish off the frame. Still scoreless in the bottom of the third, Liam Cunningham would come through with a leadoff single against Farrell. Isaiah Wadsworth would then drop a bunt down, sacrificing the runner into scoring position, which would prove to be significant as Northbridge continued to rally in the inning. And he swings at the first pitch, lining it down the left field line. That is a fair ball. Nocera gets to it as the runner fires around third base. The throw to the plate is offline as Wadsworth is able to come around to score. Down to second base on the throw goes Alvarado, and Northbridge is able to strike first. They take a 1-0 lead. And this pitch is lined out to shallow right center field. That's down for a base hit. And this will bring in a second run for Post 343. Here comes the throw into second base. And it's there in time. So the inning comes to an end, but not before Jake Hamill comes through with the second RBI single of the frame. Down 2-0, Milford would look to answer immediately in the next half inning. With 1 out, Aiden Wild would work a walk, and Blake Hill produced just the second hit of the game off of Cunningham, placing the tying runs on base. But Liam Cunningham would induce yet another ground ball out against Kevin Valentine, and Tyler Monahan would fly out to left, snuffing out the Milford rally. In the bottom of the 5th, Devin Baroth would open things up with a triple. He would remain at third base with 1 out and Isaiah Alvarado at the plate. Michael Farrell very deliberate in the pace. As Alvarado looks to bunt right into the glove of Farrell, he shuffles to the plate and safe, says the home plate umpire. Northbridge going with the suicide squeeze. The ball bunted just a few feet out in front of home plate. Michael Farrell, quick reaction. He was able to underhand toss to Tyler Monahan at the plate. Devin Baroth sliding home, and the home plate umpire ruling safe. Milford would have base runners on in the 6th and in the 7th, but they just could not produce a run against Liam Cunningham. Cunningham would go on to pitch a 3-hit complete game shutout as Milford would lose to Northbridge by a final score of 3-0. After weather altered the original schedule for the postseason, Milford had to wait into the later evening hours last Friday to find out who their next playoff opponent would be. Number 7 seed Maine South was able to upset Framingham earlier in the evening, so they earned the right to travel to Pheno Field for a win-or-go-home showdown. In the bottom of the first, Milford looked to be on the verge of taking a big early lead after post 341 starter Matt Demo walked Milford's 2, 3, and 4 hitters to load the bases with only 1 out. Demo was then able to get Kevin Valentine on a strike 3 call and then induced a ground ball that should have gotten him out of the inning, but shortstop Nick DeMoro couldn't make the play cleanly, allowing Monahan to reach it first and a run cross the plate, giving Milford a 1-0 lead. It would be the only run post 59 would score in the inning. Alex Masick would get the start for Milford in this elimination game. After pitching a scoreless first, Masick would see his defense set an ominous tone in the second. Brian Espinette would be charged with a pair of errors at second base that opened the door for a bases-loaded, no-out opportunity for post 341. Masick would go on to allow 3 straight RBI hits in the frame as 10 Maine South batters came to the plate, and by the time the inning came to an end, Milford would find themselves in a 5-1 deficit. As Milford looked to respond, Jeff Basazzi was able to open the bottom of the second with a solid single. Jeff would advance to second with 1 out before Kyle Nocero would tap a grounder to short. Maine South would get the out at first, but a questionable snap throw toward third would drift completely off the field of play, allowing Basazzi to come all the way around to score Milford's second run. After scratching another run across in the third, Brian Espinette would come to the plate with a runner in scoring position in the fifth, and he would line one back up the middle, scoring Monahan to make it just a 1-run Maine South lead, with Jeff Basazzi up looking to do more damage at the plate. Dema sets. Here's the pitch. This is sent in the air out to right field. Early backpedaling, now loses track of the ball. It gets past him and rolls towards the fence. Espinette hustling around the bases. Coach DiVitto waving him around from third. The relay throw will not come to the plate as Espinette scores. He pumps his fists as he gives high fives all around, the bench spilling out from the first base dugout as Milford has tied this game at 5. Meanwhile, after the 1 rough inning in the second, Alex Masick would bounce back in a big way. He would only allow 3 total base runners from the third inning to the 6th, keeping Maine South off the scoreboard as Milford fought their way back into the game. It would be a 5-5 score as Milford came to the plate in the bottom of the 6th, hoping they could finally take their first lead of the night. They no doubt remember how bad he hurt them in that game. Here he sends one again on the ground to first base, and again it gets under the glove of Del Senor, rolls down the right field line, and Milford takes the lead as Sean Rebello flies around from second base to score. Back-to-back errors by Maine South first baseman Josh Del Senor, and that gives Milford their first lead tonight. They are up 6-5. The runner takes off from first as this ball is hit on the ground, and it is through the vacated spot on the right side of the infield. Into score comes Aiden Wild as Valentine heads on to third. Palmer back into the windup. Here's the pitch. It's a hard shot right back up the middle, through for a hit. Into score comes Valentine. A stop sign held up on Tyler Monahan, who was charging hard around the bag. And there is your 4th hit of the game for Jeff Basazzi, his 2nd run batted in. Post 59 would erupt for 8 runs on 6 hits in that 6th inning, turning a tied score into a comfortable 13-5 lead. Maine South would tack on a run in the 7th, but it would not be close to enough. Milford keeps their playoff hopes alive with a gritty performance, defeating Maine South by a final score of 13-6. After the game, our cameras caught up with a pair of post 59 standout performers.
Well, I just needed to hit my spots early on. They got kind of lucky. They hit ground balls, places where we weren't, and I just had to get over that hump and just adjust to it. As soon as I hit my spots, game went smoothly for me.
What did Coach come in and say to you when he came out?
He just told me to calm down, you're good. We'll get our bats going, and then basically just went from there. Got a W.
Talk about that hit and then what was working for you with your swing at the plate.
You know, all night he was just throwing me, he was pounding me with curveballs, you know, so I thought it was pretty obvious that a curveball was coming on that one. So that's what I was looking for and did what I could with it.
What do you think?
Yeah!
You guys have to go back to Northbridge tomorrow.
Gotta go back to Northbridge, yes.
2 games, potentially?
Yeah, we got 2 games tomorrow.
All right.
It's definitely a tall task going in there and winning 2 because we haven't won in so long, but you know, just gotta put the team well, we got to put ourselves on the field and come out with 2. And hopefully that's what we do.
With their backs firmly against the wall after the Northbridge loss and a lackluster start to their game against Maine South, Post 59 was able to produce a tremendous comeback victory. But from there, the road to the playoffs would once again wind its way through Northbridge. Milford would be faced with the tall task of needing to defeat Northbridge twice on the very field Post 59 has not won a game in since 2010. Once again, Milford TV followed the team out to Northbridge. Here are complete highlights from last Saturday's showdown. For the second year in a row, Milford made an early morning bus ride to Northbridge Middle School, knowing they needed to walk away with a doubleheader sweep to keep their season alive. Before they could even think about a Game 2, they had to take care of business in Game number 1. The early game featured a pitching matchup of Corey Jaguar for Post 343 against the Northbridge native and BVT grad Tyler Broder. Matt DeCina would see to it that Milford had an opportunity to take an early lead as he ripped the very first pitch of the game back up the middle for a base hit. A sacrifice bunt from Sean Rebella would get DeCina into scoring position with just 1 out, but once again Milford's offensive struggles in Northbridge would come to the surface as Aiden Wild and Blake Hill would suffer back-to-back strikeouts, and Milford's early threat would go by the boards. Tyler Broder, meanwhile, was able to get 2 easy pop-ups to open his half of the first. Tommy Sparino would then hit one on the ground towards third. Wild couldn't make the play cleanly, and despite a good bid by DeCina, Sparino would reach. A passed ball would get Sparino to second, setting the stage for another controversial moment in Northbridge. 1 ball, no strike count. Here's the pitch. This is a line drive up the middle, and it gets past the dive of DeCina out into center field. Here comes the throw from Rebello to the plate, and it is not in time. The throw got there in plenty of time. It was just up the third base line. It looked clearly that Jeff Basazzi was able to get the tag down. Inexplicably, the runner is ruled safe. The call had the Milford fans outraged, but that could not change the fact that once again Post 59 would be forced to play from behind in the home of their biggest rival. Over the next 2 innings, Milford had several chances to respond. After Kevin Valentine walked to open the second, he would eventually make his way to third, representing the tying run with 2 outs and Jeff Basazzi at the plate, but Jeff would be called out on strikes to end the inning. In the third, Milford would have the tying and go-ahead runs in scoring position for Blake Hill, but Blake would strike out, and again Milford failed to produce a run. With the deficit now at 2-0, Milford would be presented with their biggest scoring chance of the game in the top of the 6th. Post 59 would load the bases with 2 outs, and the hero from the night before, Jeff Basazzi, coming to the plate to face Corey Jaguar. And all 3 runners will now be on the move. 3 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs. The runners go as the pitch is on the outside corner for a called strike 3. And so Jeff Basazzi unable to come through. He strikes out looking. Milford strands the bases loaded. They do not score. The inning turned out to be Milford's final chance to get back into the game. Northbridge seized momentum in the bottom of the inning, breaking the game open with a 6-run rally, giving Post 343 a lead they would not relinquish. It was a frustrating and disappointing end to the game and to the season for Post 59. They would lose by a final score of 8-0 as Northbridge once again eliminates Milford from playoff contention. For a second year in a row, Milford's postseason was cut short at the hands of their biggest rival. Milford finishes up 2016 with a highly respectable 20-8 record. And so just as quickly as the season began, it all comes to a screeching halt. To get some final thoughts on the year for Post 59, I sat down in studio with the head coach of Post 59, Steve DiVitto. And we are happy to be joined on the Milford Informer this week, one of the hardest working men in Milford sports, head coach of Milford Post 59, and also, of course, head coach of the Milford girls softball team, Steve DiVitto. Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thanks, Tim. We appreciate all you guys do for us, and it's great to be here to recap a great year.
Unfortunately, we're here in the recap stage of the season. I know we're both kind of going through our stages of grief after the season ended earlier than either one of us wanted to. But, still, first and foremost, hard to not think of this as another successful season for the team. A lightning quick 24-game regular season. You had 18 wins on that regular season and saw a lot of new faces kind of step to the forefront. So the regular season, really a huge success for this team.
No, yeah, I think building off of last year's team, winning 14 in the regular season, and we had a lot of guys coming back from last year's team. We knew we were a young team. We were a pretty young team again this year, and to really start off on the right foot as opposed to being on that 0-3 hole that we've seen to be in the first 2 years. And last year I think at one point we were 2-6, 2-7, and continuously just trying to dig ourselves out. It was good to get ahead this year and get some real tough wins. Played 500 ball for the first 6 games or so of the season, first quarter of the season, and then really turned it on in the middle of the season and went on a great run.
As you look back at those 4 games for your team in the postseason, how do you feel like your players were able to respond to that playoff pressure overall?
Well, I think in the opener against Framingham, Sam Phipps did a tremendous job, and so did Kevin Valentine. It was just a ace versus ace going at it. We were fortunate enough to get those couple runs and push in front and then hold on there with a 3-2 win. And then as far as the first Northbridge game goes, for whatever reason, we need to find a way to score a run at that field. It doesn't matter if there's a call that's made that's not in our favor, or an error that's made in the field, or one bad pitch that knocks at a run. We need to find a way to score a run. And unfortunately, we had opportunities and we just couldn't get it across. And then Maine South, a little bit of a gut check in the second inning, down 5-1. It was like, all right, do we want to go home early, or are we going to fight back? What are we going to do? And that was, as a coaching staff, our message. Do we want to fight back, or are we just going to lay down and die? How do you want to approach this? And the kids did a terrific job of coming back and chipping away in that game and eventually having a big 6th inning to pull away. And then Northbridge, I think we just ran out of steam.
The games in Northbridge, I know it's a major source of frustration for you, for the players, for the fans who come out to those games. They're always intense. They're always exciting. They're generally low-scoring games, with the last game being sort of an outlier. But we ended up seeing not 1 but 3 plays over those 2 games in Northbridge. What is it about that field where it seems like everything that can go wrong almost does go wrong when it comes to post 59?
Well, the scary thing is, if you look at the recaps over the last, I would say, 5-6 years, for whatever reason, they have a tough time winning at our place, and we have a tough time winning at their place. And I had a conversation with Rich Pierre-Gustavo, former coach, here for 15 years with us, and how many successful seasons he had. And I said to him, all right, I got to ask you, because at some point it's kind of like, what is there? What is going on? And he said it was the same thing when he was coaching. It's always a tough place to win, and for them it's a tough place Fino's a tough place to win at. So eventually it will turn. We know it will turn. But when we go in and play, we can't think about what happened in 2011, in 2013, 12. 2 days ago. It doesn't matter. It just matters that day. But is it frustrating at times? Sure, of course it is, because you think you have opportunities. You go in ready to play. The kids are ready to play. They're focused, and it's not that we don't play well. It's just unfortunately we haven't been able to get the job done there yet. And I could promise you that it's coming sooner rather than later. That it will get done there, but. It is what it is. And like you said, with those 3 plays, head scratchers, to say the least. And I'm sure those of our fans that were there saw some frustration coming from our dugout, not namely the third base coach or the manager in the dugout. I don't know who that guy is. But, yeah, it's frustrating, especially because it could turn an inning, could change things. But you don't win or lose games based off of those calls. You win or lose games based off of getting a timely hit, making a pitch in a situation. And over the last couple of years, it seems more times than not at Northbridge Middle that they've been able to come through and get that timely hit. So, like I said, eventually it's going to change, but it is what it is.
20 wins overall on the season with the playoff wins included, a solid season. You unfortunately have to say goodbye to, I believe it's 4 players altogether that are certainly not coming back as their eligibility comes to an end. Jeff Basazzi, a 3-year player, Kevin Valentine, a 2-year veteran, Tyler Broder, who had some strong starts for you this year, and then Matt DeCina, really the top of that list, a 4-year player who just seemed like he was deeply embedded in this team over the years, was a 2-time state champion back in 2013 and 14, and so DeCina specifically and those 4 players overall are certainly going to be, they were integral players to the team and will be missed in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. I could say something about all 4 of them, but they came to the field every day with a desire to win, desire to be better than they were the previous day, and as 3 college guys and a senior, that's what you look for out of guys that are supposed to lead your team. Come and lead by example, and they did that. They did a great job. We ask a lot of these kids. I said this to them the last day of the year, and I said that there's more times than not when I'm going to be very, very hard on you. And this message goes to the softball girls as well. I say this to them: the second that I'm not on you is the second that you need to worry because I've given up on you. You know, we thank them for what they did for our program and led by example.
There are possibilities going into this season that we could maybe see the state tournament at Pheno Field. Is that on the table for 2017?
That's the hope. That's the hope. You know, we're meeting with the parks commissioners. I had a conversation with Paul Pellegrini about hopefully the Pheno project will get going sooner rather than later. Paul does such a great job with his high school program and what he does for the town, and we've had preliminary talks about potentially putting in a bid to host next year, and I think one thing that we'll look to that I know we're going to talk about is perfect segue, by the way.
Seamless.
It's
you've done this before.
A couple times. Is our golf tournament that we're going to host. It'll be our second one. It'll be on Columbus Day at Shining Rock. We're looking forward to another great day. We had the tournament this year. It was on short notice, but we put it together real quickly. Steve Galino, Steve Matos, Brendan Wynn. We were kind of the golf committee, and we're again putting the tournament together this year, and we're looking forward to guys coming out and playing. Guys or ladies, anyone can come out and play. It'll be a great time. Like I said, playing at Shining Rock, and then we'll go back to the Hoboken Club for a great meal from Louis Piazza.
So we'll have all of the details on the screen right now, but a 7:30 a.m. registration with coffee and donuts, 8:30 a.m. shotgun start, and so the price is $125 per person, $500 per foursome, and that includes 18 holes for a 4-person scramble, and then, like you say, a quality dinner at the Hoboken Club. Anytime you go to the Hoboken, you're guaranteed to have a good meal, so we'll look forward to that. We'll probably have some footage of that again this year as we did last year. It was certainly a great time last year. And so, Coach, we have to say congratulations to you on another great season. You finish up your 3rd season now as head coach of the team. It's been a great run over these last few years. We expect great things out of the team again in the future, but I think it goes unnoticed sometimes the amount of work, the amount of dedication you put into this program and into Pheno Field in general. So we certainly say thank you for all of your hard work, and congratulations on a great season.
And you know what? Thanks to you guys for not only here at Milford TV for all your coverage, but WMRC as well. We're very, very privileged and lucky to have such a great following of fans and dedicated board members, but you guys do such a great job of helping us to promote the program and allowing the kids to have that special feel when they come to Pheno Field. It's like no other, and having you guys with us at Pheno and on the road as well, it's tremendous, and thank you guys for all you do.
That will wrap up this edition of The Informer. We will have the conclusion of our interview with Greg White from the Office of Consumer Affairs on our next new edition, which will debut on August 5th. We hope you will join us then. Until next time, from all of us here at Milford TV, this is Tim Coet saying have a great week. So long, everybody.